Thank you. You may be seated. All right. We're just going to go ahead and get started. Court is now in session for the case of Shannon Spain versus Lynn Anderson. What says the plaintiff?
Plaintiff is ready, Your Honor.
And what says the defense?
Ready, Your Honor.
Is the plaintiff prepared to deliver its opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
May it please the court.
A year can change someone's life. A day can even change it. But a single moment changed Shannon Spain's life. From her youngest age, Shannon Spain dreamed of being a varsity athlete. And that dream came true when she made the Pleasantville High School soccer team. However, while playing in the semifinal game against Centerville High School on May 15th, Shannon Spain's dream came to an end. In fact, her dream turned to a nightmare. As you can imagine, the game was very intense. Both teams were determined to win. However, one player on the opposing team was more than determined to win. Losing was not an option for Lynn Anderson. And it was this attitude that drove her to play beyond the rules of the game. Consequently, when Shannon Spain was moments away from taking the winning goal, Lynn Anderson attacked, driving her to the ground and hospitalizing her. While Miss Spain assumed the risk of injury while playing the game of soccer, she couldn't have thought, I couldn't have thought, nobody could have thought that that assumption would allow a player to use the excessive force that was used against her at the semifinal game. Good morning. My name is Jared Schaefer, and I, along with my co-counsels Madeline Martin and Victoria Yeager, represent Miss Shannon Spain in today's trial. In today's trial, we, the plaintiff, are asserting that Miss Lynn Anderson used excessive force resulting in battery when she performed what she called to be a slide tackle. And since the burden of proof lies completely with us, we must prove this through a preponderance of evidence. And to do this today, we will call 3 witnesses. First, you will hear from Shannon Spain herself. She will describe the events that took place at the semifinal game and how she walked in but did not walk out. Second, you will hear from Coach Terry Dillon, a soccer coach who witnessed the game in its entirety, including the play that was made by Lynn Anderson. And lastly, you will hear from Dr. Blake Norman, the treating physician of Miss Spain after she was brutally injured the night of the semifinal game. Now, if you listen to the testimony of each of these individuals, you will see how it was a single moment that changed Shannon Spain's life forever. And that change was a result of the excessive force that was used by Lynn Anderson at the semifinal game. At the end of today's trial, my co-counsel, Madeline Martin, will ask you for a verdict holding Lynn Anderson liable of all charges, because holding a person responsible for their wrongdoings is the only fair and just action that should be taken today. Ladies and gentlemen, a year can change someone's life. A day can even change it. But a single moment changed Shannon Spain's life. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Is the defense prepared to deliver its opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
You just heard the story of an aggressive soccer player who went out of her way to violently and negligently batter a helpless, innocent citizen simply trying to send her team to the state championship. A story that ends in tragedy. Now, what you heard was exactly that, a story. Lynn Anderson's slide tackle was no tragedy. It was simply the last drop that made the cup run over. Now, about 5 years ago, Shannon Spain was involved in a dangerous car accident and sustained severe injuries to the back. Spain returned to playing soccer. However, the damage done to the spine put her in a position of serious risk. She chose to step onto that field with a pre-existing injury, a mistake that now has my client here today, being blamed for something that is not her fault. Good morning. My name is Caroline Deal, and I, along with my co-counsel, James Torbert and Sophie Baer, will be representing the defendant, Lynn Anderson. Today, we ask that you look to Shannon Spain to take responsibility for her own mistakes, rather than shove the blame on others. Now, the plaintiff must prove that Lynn Anderson struck Shannon Spain with excessive force such that she was severely injured. That said force greatly exceeded the amount considered reasonable and customary in a game of soccer, and that as a direct result of this force, Shannon Spain's mental and physical well-being was damaged. The plaintiff must prove these three things by a preponderance of the evidence, or 51%. We expect the plaintiff to call 3 witnesses to the stand: Shannon Spain, Blake Norman, and Terry Dillon. Their testimonies will attempt to paint Anderson as a cruel player and assign her complete responsibility for Spain's injury. However, none of them will be able to link Lynn Anderson's slide tackle to Shannon Spain's injury through anything other than pure speculation and unequivocally biased statements. The defense will call Taylor Brown, an eyewitness who will testify to the events at hand, and Cameron Strong, an expert who will testify to the violent nature of soccer as well as the legitimacy of the play. And finally, Lynn Anderson herself will take the stand. An accomplished athlete with a world of opportunity, but unfortunately, the plaintiff wants to use her as a scapegoat for Spain's own mistakes. Members of the jury, the defense will show that Shannon Spain's actions leading up to and during the play in question contradict the plaintiff's claims of Spain's innocence. The defense will show that Shannon Spain did in fact step onto that field with a severe pre-existing injury. The defense will show that it was this injury that led to the unfortunate results of Anderson's slide tackle rather than the slide tackle itself. And finally, the defense will show that the plaintiff simply does not have enough evidence to find Lynn Anderson liable of the charges presented today. For these reasons, we ask that you do what is just and find Lynn Anderson not liable. No one should play the victim in a circumstance they created. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Is the plaintiff prepared to call its first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Shannon Spain to the stand. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Please state your name for the court, spelling the last for the record.
Pain.
Do you attend school?
Yes, I'm a junior at Pleasantville High School.
Is there anything that you do outside of school?
Well, I'm involved in a lot of different extracurricular activities, but the thing that takes up most of my time would have to be soccer. It's my passion.
When did you start playing soccer?
I started playing soccer around the 5th grade, and I did so every year after that. The only year that I missed was 7th grade year.
Do you still play soccer?
No, I don't play anymore.
Why is that?
I had a pretty bad back injury on May 15, 2016.
And did you say that you missed your 7th grade year of soccer?
Yeah, this has nothing to do with soccer, but I got in a car accident with my mom.
And were you ever able to return back to soccer?
Yes, actually, after some rehab and physical therapy, the doctors gave me the green light to go all out, and I never looked back.
And who do you play for?
Well, I played for the varsity team for Pleasantville. I had just made it freshman year.
And after your car accident, was your soccer ability affected?
I mean, not really. Like I said, I made the varsity team freshman year, and I led our team to the semifinals championship against Centerville, which we unfortunately lost.
Now, is this May 15th date you mentioned the one a game against Centerville?
Yes, we were playing against the Centerville Stars.
Do you know anyone who is a member of the Centerville team?
I know a lot of different players from Centerville, but the person that I have the most history with would have to be Lynn Anderson.
Who is Lynn Anderson?
Well, she's one of the Stars. She's their biggest goal-scoring threat.
And how do you know Lynn Anderson?
Me and Lynn have been playing together for years now, and we always seem to end up on opposing teams, so May 15th was nothing new.
What happened on May 15th?
That's the day that my back got hurt.
When did this injury happen?
It was pretty late in the game. It was a tie at the time, and I was on a breakaway.
What's a breakaway?
Well, basically, I was just charging towards the net. It was just me and the goalkeeper, a one-on-one, and that's when it happened.
What happened?
Lynn Anderson hit me. I didn't see it coming at all.
Why do you say that?
Because she hit me from behind.
Have you ever been hit from behind in soccer before?
No. Never in all of my years of playing soccer have I ever been hit like that. I've never even seen a hit like that before.
And what happened after Lynn hit you?
I crumpled to the ground. My back, it felt like it was being torn apart, so I just laid there until the paramedics arrived.
Did anything happen when the paramedics arrived?
Well, they strapped me down to this board thing and they brought me to the ER.
And did you learn anything when you went to the ER?
The doctors were just really concerned. They thought that I might not be able to walk normally ever again.
And did you have any recovery process after this?
Well, when I first got to the emergency room, they gave me MRIs, x-rays, they gave me pain medication, real pain medication, not just Advil, and they sent me to an orthopedic specialist each week.
And has your life been changed in any other way?
Objection, Your Honor. This is more prejudicial than it is probative.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
Go ahead.
Under Rule 403, part of our plaintiff's case is that we must prove that there are punitive and compensatory damages, and this line of questioning goes to prove that. So therefore, the probative value substantially outweighs any prejudice found in this.
May I respond?
Go ahead.
Your Honor, opposing counsel has asked adequate questions to explain her recovery process and how this event has affected her life. This question and her response is simply an emotional sway for the jury.
I'm gonna agree with counsel here. I think she's fine to offer this opinion. I think the jury does need to hear it in order to reach a strong enough conclusion when it comes to damages. So I'm gonna overrule your objection and allow you to continue, counselor.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Has your life been changed in any other way?
Like I said, I worry every day that I'm going to get addicted to painkillers, but I struggle to function without them. I can't even walk without pain.
And did you ever return back to soccer?
No, at this point, I don't think I'll be able to play soccer ever again.
Thank you, Ms. Spain. Your Honor, at this time I have no further questions and would like to reserve the remainder of my time for possible redirect.
That is your right. Thank you, counselor. Will there be a cross for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Now, Miss Spain, you started playing soccer when you were in 5th grade, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
But you didn't play your 7th grade year.
No, like I said, I got in a car accident with my mom.
Yes, and in this car accident, specifically, your lower back was injured.
My back was injured, yes, but like I said, the doctors gave me the green light to go all out after the 7th grade year.
And while your back was injured, you completed months of physical therapy.
I was in rehab and physical therapy, yes.
Now, you've had back examinations in the past.
I have.
And the doctors who examined your back believed that one day you may have to give up soccer.
Yes, but that could be in 50 or 60 years. Now I'll never know because I can't play soccer anymore.
That's right. At the time, you didn't know when you would have to give up soccer.
No, but I didn't feel any sort of pain in my back that was so excruciating to the point where I couldn't play.
But you did have to take Advil, usually after each game in practice.
Advil's an over-the-counter drug. I mean, it wasn't that serious of a pain for me to take anything more than Advil.
And you haven't had a back examination in a couple of years.
No, like I said, I didn't think it was that serious, and I didn't think I had to go see a doctor.
Now, prior to the game, you knew the defendant, Lynn Anderson,
Yes, I did.
and you left her a voicemail.
I did leave Lynn a voicemail.
Would you recognize that voicemail if I brought it before you today?
Yes, I would.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench to retrieve what has been previously marked as Exhibit 5?
You may.
Let the record reflect I'm showing opposing counsel. May I approach the witness for identification and clarification purposes?
You may.
Ms. Spain, do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
What is this document?
This is the voicemail that I sent to Lynn.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of it?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to enter Exhibit 5 into evidence.
Are there any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
Seeing as there are no objections, it will be entered on consent of counsel.
Now, in this voicemail, you threatened Lynn Anderson.
No, I wouldn't say that I threatened Lynn. It was all just joking around and trash talk. A lot of players do it.
You said that after the game, she wouldn't be seeing anything but stars.
I did, but like I said, I was just trying to joke around with her, and I wasn't ever being serious about it.
And you told her that she had been playing too rough for too long.
I did say that, yes.
And that you would be watching your back.
I did, but like I said, it was all just trash talk, nothing serious.
You told her maybe she should watch her back too.
Yes, I did say that over the voicemail.
Now, let's talk about the game itself. During this game, you hit Lynn Anderson.
I performed a slide tackle on Lynn Anderson earlier in the game, but I didn't cause her any pain enough to where she wasn't allowed to play soccer ever again.
You did make contact with her.
I slide tackled her, yes.
And this is because soccer can be a physical sport.
Soccer is a physical sport, but there are rules that you can't break.
No further questions, Your Honor. At this time, I reserve the remainder of my time for a recross.
Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a redirect for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Seeing as there is no redirect, witness, you're excused with the thanks of the court for your testimony. Is the plaintiff prepared to deliver its next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Terry Dillon to the stand. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Please state your name for the court, spelling the last for the record.
My name is Terry Dillon. That's Dillon.
What do you do for a living?
I'm the head coach of the Mayberry Mudcats, and I have been for 8 years now. Go Mudcats.
What, if anything, did you do before this?
Well, back in the day, I served as a graduate assistant on the soccer staff at Continental State University, and I came on at Mayberry around 10 years ago.
What, if any, education have you received?
I have my bachelor's in physical education, and I'm super close to getting my master's in education.
Have these courses helped you become a coach?
Sure. Probably the most helpful was an overview course on sports medicine.
What was taught in this class?
It covered everything from basic first aid to nutrition.
Were there any other courses that helped?
Yeah. Another helpful course I took was on sports law.
And why are you here today?
I was at the semifinal game when Shannon Spain was injured.
Why were you at the game?
Well, my team, the Mayberry Mudcats, we were waiting to play in the championship game. We were waiting to play the winner of the Pleasantville-Centerville semifinal game.
Where were you sitting at the game?
I wanted a good view of the entire field, so I went up to the top of the stands and sat around the midfield area.
How would you describe the game?
Oh, it was a tight match, 0-0.
Did you notice any particular players?
Yeah, the most obvious players to scout out were Shannon Spain and Lynn Anderson.
Why?
They're the big guns for each side. Shannon Spain is Pleasantville's scoring threat, and Lynn Anderson is Centerville's star player.
How would you describe their play?
Both players were playing pretty physical. Shannon Spain made a pretty good slide tackle on Lynn Anderson in the first half.
And what about in the second half?
Well, in the second half, that's when Lynn Anderson hit Shannon Spain.
What first happened in this incident?
Well, Shannon had gotten away from the defense and was attacking the goal.
What does that mean?
Basically, she was on a breakaway. She had gotten loose from the defense. It was just her and the goalie.
Did she have a chance to score?
No, unfortunately, she didn't. The score was still tied when Lynn Anderson hit her.
And what happened after that?
Well, after Lynn Anderson hit her, Shannon Spain hit the ground, and she hit it hard.
Where was Lynn Anderson in relationship to Shannon Spain?
Well, Lynn Anderson approached Shannon Spain from behind, something like this, and crashed into the back of her.
And what happened after that?
Shannon Spain lied on the ground, writhing in obvious pain.
How was Shannon Spain playing before this?
Oh, before this, she was all over field. She was wearing out the defense.
And after this?
No. She was just lying there.
Did anything happen to Lynn Anderson?
She was ejected and given a red
Objection,
card.
Your Honor. This is more prejudicial than it is probative.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
The probative value substantially outweighs the prejudicial value, and the witness is testifying to what incident happened once Lynn Anderson was ejected from the game with this red card.
May I respond?
Go ahead.
Your Honor, the red card is being used to confuse the issue of the legitimacy of Anderson's play. Seeing as the trier of the fact in today's case is the jury and not the referee who used their individual judgment to issue the red card and the subsequent ejection from the game, this is a prior judgment against Lynn Anderson.
Could you repeat your question?
My question was, how did Lynn, or what happened to Lynn afterwards?
I'm going to sustain the objection here. I do believe that the prejudicial value of this question does outweigh the probative value. So move on, Counselor.
Yes, Your Honor. And what action was Lynn Anderson given to Shannon Spain?
She hit her in the back, and then she was ejected.
And now,
Objection, Your Honor. This is more prejudicial than it is probative.
Overruled. Continue, Counselor.
and how long have you been a coach?
If you count it all up, more than 10 years.
And have you ever seen a play like this before?
Not in all of my years of coaching have I ever seen a play like that.
Thank you, Ms. Dillon. Your Honor, at this time I have no further questions, and I would like to reserve the remainder of my time for a possible redirect.
Thank you, Counselor. It will be reserved. Will there be a cross for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
You are the head coach of the Mayberry Mudcats, is that correct?
Yes, and I have been for 8 years now.
And as a coach, you create your team's schedule, correct?
I do.
And you are responsible for ensuring that each game's score is recorded, correct?
Yes, I do.
So would you be familiar with the 2016 Mayberry Mudcats soccer schedule?
I would.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench to retrieve what has been previously marked as Exhibit 4?
You may.
Let the record reflect I'm showing opposing counsel what has been previously marked as Exhibit 4. May I approach the witness for identification and clarification purposes?
You may.
Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is this document?
It's my Mayberry Mudcats 2016 varsity soccer schedule,
Is this a fair and accurate copy of that document?
to the best of my knowledge.
Has it been altered in any way?
Not to my knowledge.
And is maintaining a schedule including results a common practice as a high school soccer coach?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time I move to enter what has been previously marked as Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Are there any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
Seeing as there are no objections, it's in on consent of counsel.
Now, according to this official Mayberry Mudcats soccer schedule, your team had already played against and lost to Centerville this season, correct?
Yes, it was a tough loss, but I mean, we had a pretty perfect season.
And you lost 4-5, a tight loss, correct?
It was a tight match, but my players played well.
And this was the only loss your team had all season, correct?
Yeah, it was a pretty close to perfect season, I'd say.
And you don't like the Centerville Stars soccer team, do you?
Well, I just think they have a reputation in the soccer world, and Lynn Anderson proved that one.
You did call them hoodlums, did you not?
I did, and Lynn Anderson proved that.
Let's talk about the events of the game. You were seated in the stands, correct?
Yeah, I wanted a good view of the entire field, so I went up to the top of the stands and sat around the midfield area.
On the side away from where Spain was injured, is that right?
Well, I had an aerial view, so this didn't really obstruct my vision, but yeah, I did.
And in the moments leading up to Spain and Anderson's collision, you were speaking to your assistant coach, correct?
I saw Spain attacking the goal. I turned away to talk to my assistant coach, and I looked back and I saw Lynn Anderson crash into the back of Shannon Spain.
So your back was turned in the moments leading up to their collision?
Yes, but I did see the collision.
You turned around just in time to witness that Spain and Anderson crash into each other, correct?
Yes, I saw the play at hand.
And you have never seen an injury like Shannon Spain's in your entire soccer career, is that correct?
No, I've never seen anything like this. It was honestly scary to see a player lying on the ground like that.
Your Honor, I have no further questions and would like to reserve the remainder of my time for a possible recross.
Thank you, Counselor.
May I retrieve the evidence?
Yes, you may. The time will be reserved. Will there be a redirect for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Seeing as there is no redirect, there will be no recross. Witness, you are excused with the thanks of the court for your testimony. Is the plaintiff prepared to call its final witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The plaintiff calls Dr. Blake Norman to the stand. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Please state your name and spell the last portion for the record.
My name is Dr. Blake Norman. That's Norman.
What is your current occupation, Dr. Norman?
I'm a medical doctor at Pleasantville Medical Center.
And how long have you been a doctor there for?
I've worked in the emergency room for the past 4 years.
Now, did you receive a college degree?
Yes, I received my Bachelor's of Science in Biology from NV University.
And did you receive a medical degree?
Yes, I went to medical school at Continental University.
And have you received any special medical training?
I've taken numerous courses on emergency medical services as well as on sports-related injuries.
Your Honor, at this time, the plaintiff would like to offer Dr. Blake Norman as an expert in emergency medical services.
Are there any objections to this field?
No objections, Your Honor.
Seeing as there are no objections, she will be so entered.
Why are you here in court today, Dr. Norman?
I was the treating physician for Shannon Spain on the night of May 15th.
And did you reach any medical conclusions regarding Miss Spain?
I concluded that Shannon Spain suffered from severe injuries sustained on May 15th.
And how did you reach these conclusions?
Along with all the information provided to me about the incident, I also personally examined Ms. Spain's injuries and then applied the prevailing methods and principles that are industry standard in my field.
When did Miss Spain come under your care?
Shannon Spain came into the ER on the night of May 15th.
And can you describe the nature of her arrival?
After the soccer game, the paramedics brought Shannon Spain in on a backboard, strapped down from head to toe.
And why did they bring her in like this?
To reduce mobility. Paramedics generally take this precaution when they believe that severe trauma has occurred to the head or neck.
And is this something that you normally see in the emergency room?
No. Anytime we see this, we act quickly to assess the damages.
And did you?
I did. I began preparing a medical report.
And would you recognize that medical report if I were to show it to you today?
I would.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench to retrieve what has been previously marked as Exhibit 1?
You may.
I'm showing the opposing counsel. Your Honor, may I approach the witness for identification purposes?
You may.
Dr. Norman, do you recognize this document?
I do.
And how do you recognize it?
This is Shannon Spain's medical report from the night of May 15th.
And is this a fair and accurate representation of it?
It is.
Your Honor, at this time I would like to enter Exhibit 1 in as evidence.
Are there any objections to Exhibit 1?
No objections, Your Honor.
Seeing as there are no objections, it's on consent of counsel.
Dr. Norman, what injuries did Miss Spain endure?
As noted in my report, Shannon suffered from multiple contusions on her right forearm and right patella, as well as edema on her lower back and right ankle. Loss of motor skills was also noted, though paralysis is not present to any real degree.
And once you noted these injuries in your report, what did you do next?
The loss of motor skills was very concerning, so we ordered an MRI and an X-ray of Shannon's spine, skull, and right ankle.
And did these tests reveal anything?
The MRI showed prior degeneration to Shannon's vertebrae L5, though the injury sustained on May 15th spanned from vertebrae L4 to L5.
Now, was the injury on vertebrae L4 a result of a prior accident Miss Spain had been in?
No. The injury on vertebrae L4 was sustained on May 15th.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper opinion.
Do you have a response, Counselor?
Yes, Your Honor. As noted in the medical report, Dr. Norman was made aware of the prior accident Miss Spain had been in.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes, one more time.
The witness today is testifying specifically when an injury occurred. Seeing as there's been no foundation laid that this witness has met with the individual Shannon Spain in the past or frequently, she would have no idea when the actual event that caused the injury occurred.
I'm going to overrule your objection here, Counselor, because I do believe that she not only has the expert opinion and testimony to provide this opinion, but also does, I think, in the medical report have the evidence behind her to say it. So I'm going to overrule, and you can continue, Counselor.
Now, Dr. Norman, have you ever seen injuries like this before from soccer games?
No. Injuries of this nature don't occur in most soccer games.
And were you able to determine the cause of Miss Spain's injuries?
Injuries of this nature usually occur from severe trauma to the spine, like falling down and hitting the ground with a sharp force.
So how did you treat Miss Spain's injuries?
We prescribed painkillers, ordered physical therapy, and kept Miss Spain in the hospital for 2 days of observation.
Now, Dr. Norman, just to clarify, the injuries that you treated Miss Spain for, when were those injuries sustained?
Shannon sustained these injuries on May 15th, the night of the soccer semifinals.
Thank you, Dr. Norman. I have no further questions, Your Honor, and I'd like to reserve any remaining time for a possible redirect. May I retrieve the evidence?
You may. It will be reserved. Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a cross for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Dr. Norman, you often work in the ER on nights of major high school sporting events, correct?
I do.
And injuries during these games are pretty common, correct?
That's right.
In fact, every night that you work during one of these games, you see at least one major injury.
Yeah, soccer games and just any sporting event typically leads to injury.
You see either a broken bone, a concussion, or a major contusion, correct?
Correct.
And that's because these are all common injuries in violent sports such as soccer, correct?
That's right, and that's why Shannon's injuries concerned me so much.
Now, when you were working at PMC that night, Shannon Spain came in with a major contusion to the lower back, correct?
Correct.
However, you explained that her injury was unusual, correct?
Her spinal injury was very unusual for most soccer games.
In fact, you've never treated a soccer player for an injury like Shannon's before.
No, I've never seen a soccer game played to where it would cause this injury either.
You've never even treated a soccer player for a back injury, correct?
Correct.
You even explained that Shannon's injury didn't resemble that of a soccer match, correct?
Shannon's injury was consistent with severe trauma to the lower back. So if she was pushed down or fell to the ground with a sharp force, it would have caused this injury.
You also explained that Shannon's injury resembled that of a major car crash, correct?
The injury was caused by a sharp force to the lower back, so this could be caused by a car wreck or multiple other things like falling down and hitting the ground.
Now, that night you saw Shannon's parents, correct?
That's right.
And they appeared agitated?
They did, but that's understandable since their daughter was just brought into the ER on a backboard.
And at one point you heard them speaking, correct?
I did.
You heard Shannon's mother say that her daughter's back was simply too sensitive.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
Pursuant to Rule 8032, this is an excited utterance.
Your Honor, if I may respond. This statement would not be a excited utterance because it did not happen directly after the accident.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes, one more
The
time.
definition of an excited utterance requires the declarant to be under the stress of the event. The event doesn't have to be occurring, but simply that the declarant must be under the stress of the event, and the witness today has already laid the foundation that the parents were distraught.
I'm going to sustain the objection here because I feel like we've ventured a little too far away from the actual injury occurring, and I don't think we've laid enough foundation as to the parents being so distraught as to excited utterance apply. So I'm going to sustain and ask you to move on, Counselor.
Now, that night, Shannon Spain was given an x-ray, correct?
Correct.
And in that x-ray, you found prior damage and degeneration to her lower back, correct?
That's right.
Prior damage from a major car crash a few years ago, correct?
That's right, though it had mostly healed.
Prior damage in the same area that appeared to be injured that night, correct?
It was a similar area, though it was not the same area. The injury sustained on May 15th spanned from vertebrae L4 to L5.
But both injuries were in the lower back, correct?
That's right.
Now, that night was the first time you ever treated Shannon Spain, correct?
Correct.
You didn't treat her after the major car crash, correct?
No, I did not.
In fact, you've never checked her back in the past 5 years since that car crash, correct?
No, I did not.
So when Shannon Spain came in that night, you didn't know the condition her back was initially in, correct?
No, but from what Shannon had told me, she was playing fine before she fell to the ground after getting hit. And so from my conclusion after that, I concluded that it was this hit that caused the severe trauma.
But that night was the first night you learned about Shannon's back injury, correct?
Correct.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions. I'd like to reserve the remainder of my time for possible recross.
Thank you, Counselor. It will be reserved. Will there be a redirect for this witness?
No redirect, Your Honor.
Seeing as there's no redirect, there will be no recross. Witness, you're excused with the thanks of the court for your testimony. Is there anything further from the plaintiff?
No, Your Honor. The plaintiff rests.
Seeing as the plaintiff rests, is the defense prepared to deliver its first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Taylor Brown to the stand. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Please state your name, spelling the last for the record.
Taylor Brown, B-R-O-W-N.
Ms. Brown, where did you attend high school?
I went to Pleasantville High School where I played soccer. I was pretty good too. I was all-state and captain of the team. Playing at Pleasantville helped me achieve my dream of going D1.
And where do you attend college?
I'm a senior at Continental State University. I'm a striker on the women's soccer team.
And do you have any plans for after college?
For the time being, I'm an assistant coach for a small college in Montgomery for their women's soccer team. I'm just going to see where it goes from there. Soccer is really the only thing I want to do.
And are you familiar with the plaintiff, Shannon Spain?
Yeah, we actually go way back. My little brother went to middle school with Shannon, but then we moved when my brother was in 10th grade, so I didn't see her as much. But I did see her at the semifinal game.
Can you tell us a little bit about this semifinal game?
Yeah, so Centerville and Pleasantville, they're huge rivals. And Pleasantville was the crowd favorite, but they were the underdogs. So if you pair all of that with an intense win-or-go-home playoff match, that's a game that you cannot miss.
And did you recognize any of the spectators at this game?
Yeah, everyone was there. I saw coaches from every D1 soccer program in the tri-state area, and I saw a local coach too.
Who was this local coach?
Terry Dillon, coach of the Mayberry Mudcats. His team was set to play the winner in the final, so it makes sense that he'd be there scoping out the competition.
Your Honor, the witness is speculating.
Do you have a response?
Yes, Your Honor. Pursuant to Rule 701A, this is rationally based on the perception of the witness's knowledge. Ms. Brown knows Terry Dillon, seeing as they both work in the city, and she's familiar with how his team and his coaching and how he is not related to either of the teams playing. This is simply rationally based on her perception.
Do you have a response to rational basis, Counselor?
Yes, Your Honor. The witness is speculating towards the mindset of Terry Dillon.
Do you have a response to mindset?
I can move on.
We'll have you move on then. I'll sustain the objection and, like you said, move on, Counselor.
What do you know about Terry Dillon?
Well, he's got a bit of a reputation around town. Everyone knows about the drama that happened when Centerville picked another coach over him.
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Do you
May I
have a
respond?
response? Yes.
Seeing as Ms. Brown lives in the city and she's aware of the reputation of this person's character, she is able to testify as to his reputation.
Do you have a
Honor,
response to rational basis again?
Yes, Your Honor. The witness cannot testify to everyone who lives in the town. and how they feel towards Coach Terry Dillon.
May I respond?
You may.
My witness was simply using a colloquial term to describe this witness's reputation.
I'm going to overrule your objection here. I do think she has enough rational basis in her perception to offer this testimony. So overruled, you can continue, Counselor.
Would you like for me to restate the question?
Yes, please.
What do you know about Terry Dillon?
Terry Dillon's got a bit of a reputation around town. People know about the drama that happened when Centerville picked another coach over him. People say that he's had a huge grudge against Centerville ever since.
Now, let's talk about the game. Where were you sitting?
I was on the Pleasantville side around midfield. It's like where the TV commentators sit, but even better. I had a great view of the game.
And did you witness any altercation between Shannon Spain and Lynn Anderson?
Well, yeah, before the big one or whatever.
When was this?
It was right before halftime with the game tied at 0. Really hostile for both sides.
What happened?
Lynn had a clear shot at the goal, like so easy. Everyone knows that Lynn's the best player in the state, and this was the kind of kick that any quality player could make with their eyes closed and their sleep, that sort of thing. But then Shannon came
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
May I respond?
You may.
May I ask opposing counsel to clarify as to what exactly this witness is speculating to?
Your Honor, can the witness repeat her answer?
Please repeat your answer.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Did you witness, or what happened after, what happened when you witnessed the interaction between Shannon Spain and Lynn Anderson?
I said Lynn had a clear shot at the goal, like so easy. Everyone knows that Lynn's the best player in the state, and this is the kind of kick that any quality player could make in their sleep with their eyes closed, that sort of thing.
The witness is speculating towards everyone could make this kind of goal.
I'm going to sustain the objection here. I think we are speaking a little bit to the mindset of other people, and I don't think she has any way to really rationally know what she's talking about there. So I'm going to sustain the objection and ask you to move on, Counselor.
Can you describe the interaction between between Shannon Spain and Lynn Anderson?
Yeah, there was a sliding tackle between them that was pretty rough.
And what happened after this sliding tackle?
Shannon's sliding tackle straight up took Lynn out. Like, I was sure Lynn was done for. It looked really painful, and I didn't think she'd be able to keep going, but she got up and she kept playing. Major props to her. Not everyone can do that.
And did Shannon Spain's sliding tackle strike you as out of the ordinary?
No. Soccer's a rough sport. You hit and you get hit. It's the name of the game.
And did Spain and Anderson interact at all after this first altercation?
Yeah, I saw Lynn steal late in the game.
What happened?
Shannon was charging for the Centerville goal, but Lynn was quickly catching up. Shannon went for the goal. Lynn went for the ball. Next thing, Shannon's on the ground.
And did this sliding tackle strike you as out of the ordinary?
No, like I said, soccer's a rough sport. You hit and you get hit. Lynn may have gone at the ball harder and faster than I would have, but that's just a testament to her athleticism. She's a big, strong player, and soccer's not a sissy sport.
Your Honor, I have no further questions and would like to reserve the remainder of my time for a possible redirect.
It will be reserved. Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a cross for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Ms. Brown, you were at the soccer semifinal game, correct?
Correct.
And you were sitting midfield?
I was.
And you stated that the crowd was going nuts.
Yeah, it was a crazy game.
And they were jumping up and down and yelling.
They were.
And then you stated that you saw Miss Spain taking the ball up towards the Centerville goal, correct?
Correct.
And you saw Lynn Anderson coming after her?
Yeah, she was right there next to her.
And then you stated that the next thing you saw, Shannon Spain was on the ground.
Well, I actually saw Shannon go for the goal, and then I saw Lynn go in with the slide tackle for the ball, and then Shannon was on the ground.
And the next thing you saw after Miss Anderson was running towards Miss Spain was Shannon Spain on the ground. You did not witness the slide tackle.
No, I did witness the slide tackle.
You did witness this. You did witness the slide tackle.
I did.
But you, in your testimony, you did not provide any details towards this slide tackle.
I was just summarizing. Would you like me to provide
The
some
only
details?
detail that you provided in your testimony and direct examination was that the next thing you saw was Shannon Spain on the ground.
I saw the whole play.
Now, you played soccer at a university, correct?
Yeah, I play at Continental State University.
And you've even been an assistant coach.
I have.
So you're fairly familiar with the game of soccer, correct?
I am.
And you're familiar with the culture that surrounds it?
Yes.
So you're familiar with the lengths that some players go to win games,
Everybody wants to win.
such as the lengths that Lynn Anderson went to.
Lynn Anderson wanted to win just like everybody else did.
Your Honor, I'd like to save the remaining time for a possible recross.
Thank you, Counselor. Your time will be reserved. Will there be a redirect for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Did you witness the play in which Lynn Anderson slide tackled Shannon Spain in its entirety?
I did.
And what happened?
Shannon was charging for the Centerville goal, and then Lynn came in with a sliding tackle, and then Shannon ended up on the ground.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a recross for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. You witnessed the play, correct?
I did.
However, you failed to provide any details of that play.
I thought I provided ample details.
Details that could greatly affect today's case.
I thought I provided ample
I
details.
have no further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Witness, you're excused with the thanks of the court for your testimony. Is the defense prepared to call its next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Cameron Strong to the stand. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Please state your name, spelling the last for the record.
My name is Cameron Strong. That's S-T-R-O-N-G.
Mr. Strong, what do you do for a living?
Well, I started out as a professional soccer player, and I did pretty well for myself. Actually had the chance to play in the Olympic Games, but I blew my knee out back in 2013, and I started commentating on games after that.
And what are your responsibilities as a commentator?
As a commentator, I watch games, review plays, and host television programs.
What TV segments have you hosted?
I've had several segments on my show in the past about violence in today's sports world, especially with regard to the game of soccer.
And are you published in any of your fields?
Yes, I'm published writing about the subject of the rules and regulations of soccer.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense moves to tender Cameron Strong as an expert in soccer analysis.
Are there any objections?
Yes, Your Honor. There has been a lack of foundation for sports analysis, seeing as this witness has only commentated for soccer specifically.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
I believe I entered the witness as only an expert in the analysis of the game of soccer, no other sports. So the rules, the regulations, and the violent tendencies, as he's already stated, he's had multiple segments about.
When you asked me to enter this witness as an expert, you said sports analysis. Would you be willing to change that to soccer analysis?
My apologies, I meant soccer analysis.
Do we have objections to soccer analysis?
No, Your Honor.
Seeing as there are no objections, he will be so entered.
Now, Mr. Strong, why are you here today?
I was asked to review a videotape of a soccer match.
What soccer match?
This was the semifinal match between Centerville and Pleasantville High Schools.
And where did the video come from?
The video was shot by a parent sitting in the stands. It wasn't quite the TV quality that I'm used to, but I could clearly make out the play when Lynn Anderson slide tackled Shannon Spain.
And what could you make out of this play?
I saw Shannon Spain with the ball, headed down towards the goal. Lynn Anderson was running parallel to her, stepped in front of her, performed a sliding tackle, making contact with both the ball and the opposing player, and then both of them ended up on the ground at the end of the play.
Now, is slide tackling a common practice in soccer?
Absolutely. Slide tackling is a very routine part of the game of soccer.
And would you be familiar with the rules of the game if I showed them to you?
Absolutely. As a commentator, I have to analyze games based on the FIFA rules.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench to retrieve what's been previously marked as Exhibit 6?
You may.
Let the record reflect I'm showing the opposing counsel. May I approach the witness for clarification and identification?
You may.
Mr. Strong, are you familiar with this document?
I am.
And what is this document?
This is the foul and misconduct section of the FIFA rules.
And are they a fair and accurate copy?
Yes, I believe so.
Your Honor, at this time, the defense moves to enter Exhibit 6 into evidence.
Are there any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
It's in on consent of counsel.
Now, Mr. Strong, based on these rules, are players allowed to slide tackle?
Absolutely. As I said, a slide tackle is a routine part of the game of soccer. The only situation in which a player would actually be called for a foul on a slide tackle would be if they were to commit one of the 7 or so outlined offenses here in the foul and misconduct section of the FIFA rules in a careless, reckless, or excessive manner.
And in your expert opinion, was Lynn Anderson's slide tackle careless, reckless, or excessive?
It was physical, but it was not careless, reckless, or excessive.
Now, in a soccer game, do players often make contact with one another?
Absolutely. Soccer is an extremely physical sport.
What makes soccer so physical?
Well, the rules permit a lot of physical contact that can lead to injury.
And are there any factors that can worsen a player's risk of injury?
Yes, if a player has a serious pre-existing
Objection, Your
injury,
Honor, outside the scope of this witness's expertise.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
The foundation has already been laid that this witness hosts multiple television segments about the violence within the sport, the causes of that violence, as well as the effects. That would be just general statements about what could increase a player's risk of injury. I'm not asking for any testimony about specific medical diagnosis.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes, one more time.
This witness is entered in as a soccer analysis. This witness has no expertise in medical diagnosis, injuries regarding soccer, and the causation and prevention of injuries in soccer, because he is simply entered in as a soccer analysis.
Before I rule, can I hear your question one more time?
The question was, are there any factors that can worsen a player's risk of injury?
I think I'm going to sustain the objection here because I do think we're venturing a little outside of his expertise into more of a medical expertise kind of area. And because of that, I don't think he really has the ability to offer testimony regarding this. So I'm going to sustain the objection and ask you to move on, Counselor.
Now, based on the video you received, could you conclude the general size of the players?
I could. Lynn Anderson was a much larger player, I'd say around 5'11", whereas Shannon Spain had a much smaller frame at around 5'7" or so.
Now, finally, in your expert opinion, based on all your years of experience, as well as based on the video you received, what did you ultimately conclude about the play?
Well, Anderson was clearly a very physical player, but I have seen and personally experienced much worse on a soccer field. She made a play that resulted in contact with both the ball and the player, and so ultimately I had to conclude that it was within the rules and a fair play.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions. I'd like to reserve the remainder of my time for a possible redirect.
It will be reserved. Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a cross for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
You're here as an expert witness for the defense today, correct?
That is correct.
And you've never been a referee?
No, I was a soccer player for many years, and then I started analyzing the game on television.
So you've never ruled on a field, correct?
No, not in an official way.
And now, in your expert opinion, you would agree that Lynn may have been playing the game a little fast?
I said that she may have been playing a little fast and a little loose. That is correct.
And you said that she was pushing the edge of permissive physicality.
Yes, she pushed the edge of permissive physicality, but again, I did not see her cross that edge.
And you said that kids should just learn to toughen up these days, correct?
In general, I think that to play a physical sport like soccer, you have to be tough enough to withstand it.
And because you even believe Shannon shouldn't have been playing that day, correct?
I do believe that because she had a pre-existing injury, which means that she was not ready to play the physical game of
But
soccer.
you're not a medical doctor, are you?
No, I've just played soccer for my entire life and personally been injured in the game of soccer.
And now you would agree that there are rules in soccer that you cannot do, correct? There are rules?
Yes, you cannot have a game without rules, I agree.
And, for example, intentionally trying to hurt someone would be outside the rules of the game?
Yes, you should not ever intentionally try to hurt someone in the game
And
of soccer.
targeting another player would be outside the rules of the game?
Of course, if I see that, I would absolutely point that out.
And with these behaviors, it is the job of the referees to act, correct?
I believe that referees is generally their job. However, mostly in non-professional games, unlike my environment, they don't have access to replay or the play over and over again and are often subject to the intensity of the game.
But it is their job to make the ruling on the field?
In general, it is their job,
Because
yes.
the behaviors are outside the rules of the game, correct?
I'm sorry, I don't
The
understand.
players' behaviors are outside the rules of the game?
I'm not sure which players you're referring to that their behaviors are outside of the rules of the game, but it is the referee's job to rule if that happens.
And now, you were not actually at the game on May 15th, were you?
No, as I said, I viewed it on a videotape.
That was given to you by Lynn Anderson's lawyers?
Yes, they asked me to review it.
And now, this vantage point was from the crowds, correct?
It was, yes.
And now, the referees were actually at the game that day, correct?
The referees were on the field, and mine was from in the stands. That's correct.
And so they were closer to the play than you were, correct?
Actually, I wouldn't say that. I could not see the referee in the frame of the video. The frame of the video actually only showed the players in the play. So I can't actually tell you how far or how close the referee was from the play that actually happened.
But wouldn't you have knowledge of where the referees were on the field, correct?
As I said, I could not see the referee in the frame of the video, and my frame was pretty close, so I actually can't tell you who was closer.
But wasn't the crowd wouldn't the crowd be behind the field then?
The crowd was not on the field. They were behind the field, but I cannot tell you how close or how far away the referee was
And
from the
now,
actual
there were
play.
many referees on the field, correct?
Typically, there are 3 referees in a game of soccer. However, in lower level soccer, like high school, you could have less than
So
that.
they would have many different angles of this play, correct?
The head referee would just have one angle from wherever he or she was standing.
But you only had one angle, correct?
Yes, I had the videotape that I reviewed.
And there was people jumping in and out of this video?
Well, I reviewed the game to that point, and so there were people.
Counselor, your time has elapsed.
Thank you.
Will there be a redirect for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. Mr. Strong, could you clearly see the play with the videotape you received?
Absolutely. Though players did jump in front of the camera from time to time leading up to that point in the game, there was no one obstructing my view when that play happened, as it was just those two players and the goalkeeper in between them and the goal.
Were you given the chance to review the play over and over again?
Absolutely. I've had it in my possession for around 6 months now, so I've absolutely been able to review it over and over.
And finally, in your expert opinion, was Lynn Anderson's slide tackle outside the rules of the game?
It absolutely was not. It was a very routine soccer play.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you, Counselor. Seeing as time has elapsed for our crossing attorney, witness, you are excused with the thanks of the court for your testimony. Is the defense prepared to call its final witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Lynn Anderson to the stand. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Please state your name, spelling your last for the record.
Lynn Anderson, Anderson.
Miss Anderson, can you tell the jury a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm a junior at Centerville High School. I'm a pretty good student, but I'm a much
Do you have a response, Counselor?
Your Honor, might I ask opposing counsel as to what she believes my witness is speculating?
Your Honor, Ms. Anderson stated that she's heard that Mr. Spain was angry towards herself, and therefore this would testify to the mindset of Mr. Spain, which calls for speculation.
May I respond, Your Honor?
You may.
First, pursuant to Rule 701A, my witness has laid the foundation that she is in fact familiar with Shannon's father, but additionally, I'm simply using this statement to prove the reputation of Shannon's father based off of what she has perceived in the community, based off of what she's heard.
I think here I'm going to overrule your objection, Counselor, because I do believe that we have enough rational basis behind her for her to offer this testimony, so I'm going to overrule and allow the Counselor to continue.
How are you familiar with Shannon's father?
Well, I've heard from a lot of people in Pleasantville that when I was being recruited by the #1 teams in the nation for soccer, that he was pretty upset.
Now, were you nervous going into the game against Pleasantville?
Yeah, I was.
Why were you nervous?
Well, Shannon's dad had approached my mom a couple days before at the mall, and he had told my mom that I'd either be watching the game from the stretcher.
Objection, improper character evidence.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
I'm simply using, pursuant to Rule 405A, I'm proving this witness's character through his reputation and through his previous encounters with her mother. She's already testified and laid the foundation for him having a reputation of being angry towards her, and thus this is simply furthering that.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
You may.
This reputation that the opposing counsel is using through this line of questioning is trying to prove a pertinent character trait which cannot be admissible in court today, seeing that Ms. Spain is a minor and Mr. Spain is our client as well.
May I respond?
One more time.
Your Honor, since Mr. Spain is additionally their client, then pursuant to Rule 404A2, this is simply going to prove the character of the plaintiff or the victim in today's trial.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
Yes.
Under the rule of the opposing counsel cited, we must have signed off on some character evidence acknowledgement that we were going to offer it, which was never offered and therefore cannot be admissible in court today.
I'm going to agree with counsel here. I'm going to sustain her objection. I do believe we are venturing into improper character evidence territory here. So I'm going to sustain and ask you to move on, Counselor.
Now, prior to the game, did you have any interaction with Shannon Spain?
Yes, I did.
What was this interaction?
Shannon left me a voicemail a couple days before the game.
And if I brought this before you, would you recognize it today?
I would.
May I approach the bench to retrieve what has been previously entered into evidence as Exhibit 5?
You may.
May I approach the witness for identification and clarification purposes?
Please show to opposing counsel.
Let the record reflect I'm showing opposing counsel. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, this is the voicemail that Shannon left me a couple days before the game.
Now, are there any parts of this document that stand out to you?
Yeah, so Shannon said that after the game, all I would be seeing is stars, and that I need to watch my back because she was going to be watching hers.
And from what you see in this voicemail, how would you characterize it?
To me, it was threatening.
Now, let's talk about the game itself. Can you describe the events leading up to and during the game?
The game was crazy. The stands were packed. It was loud. Everybody was there. It was so loud that we could barely hear our coach. And a couple minutes in, one of our players went down with a sprained ankle. They had to come out. It was just a really intense game, and everybody was playing to win.
What happened next?
Later on, I had gotten possession of the ball, and I was charging towards the Pleasantville goal when Shannon came out of nowhere and just laid me out right in front of the goal.
What did Shannon do?
She just laughed and kept on running.
Objection, improper character evidence.
Do you have a response, Counselor?
Your Honor, I'm not attempting to characterize the plaintiff, but rather I'm asking my witness to testify on behalf of the events that she perceived to occur during this game, pursuant to Rule 701A.
I'm going to overrule your objection for now. If the witness starts to testify as to character trait or other improper character evidence potential avenues, then I think you can renew your objection. But for now, I'm going to overrule and allow counsel to continue.
What did Shannon do after she hit you?
She just laughed and kept on running.
What did you do?
Well, I mean, I was a little sore and shaken up from the hit, but Coach told me just to shake it off and get back at it, so that's what I did.
Now, during this game, did you have any other altercations with the plaintiff?
Actually, yes. Later on in the game, Pleasantville had gotten possession of the ball. They passed to Shannon. She was charging towards the Centerville goal. I took off as fast as I could, and when I got right in front of Shannon, I went for the ball. She says I came from behind, but that's just not true.
And why can't this be true?
Because when I got one step ahead of her, she lifted her arm up.
Objection, speculation.
May I respond?
You may.
Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 701A, this witness is allowed to testify on behalf of their rational perception. Being that she was involved in this play, she could rationally perceive and see whether or not Shannon stuck out her arm. She's not entering the mindset of Shannon. She just stated what happened.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
Yes, one more time.
We are not objecting to the fact that Miss Bain stuck out her arm, but as to the reason of why, that's the problem we have, and this is speculating towards the mindset of Miss Bain.
May I respond?
Witness, what did you say?
I said that she stuck out when I got one step ahead of her, she stuck out her arm.
I don't think the witness has started to speculate or testify even as to why Miss Spain threw up her arm. So I'm going to overrule your objection and allow counsel to continue.
Why can't this be true?
Because when I got one step ahead of Shannon, she lifted up her arm. So she had to have seen me.
Objection, speculation.
May I respond?
Yes, you may.
Your Honor, I'm simply asking the witness to explain and clarify why she believes that Shannon stuck out her arm, not to enter the mindset of Shannon Spain. Pursuant to Rule 701A and B, this testimony is rationally based on the perception of the witness and also helpful in clarifying a fact in today's case.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
One more time, yes.
The opposing counsel stated that they want the opinion as to why Ms. Anderson believes this happened, and seeing that she's a lay witness, she cannot offer this opinion to the court today, which calls for speculation.
May I respond?
No, I agree with counsel here. I'm going to sustain the objection. Please move on.
Now, when you had this slide tackle play, did you go for the ball?
Yes, of course. I went for the ball, not Shannon.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor. I reserve the remainder of my time for a possible redirect.
It will be reserved. Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a cross for this witness?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
Now, Ms. Anderson, you've been playing soccer for a long time.
I've been playing ever since I was 4.
So you would say you understand the rules pretty well.
Of course.
And you understand that some hits in soccer are legal?
Yeah, there are illegal hits.
Well, some are legal.
Oh, legal, yes.
And some are illegal.
Yeah, there are illegal hits too.
But you seem to blur this line.
Absolutely not. There are illegal hits and there are legal hits. You always play by the rules.
But you have said that soccer is a physical sport.
Of course. It's a contact sport. If you don't want contact, you shouldn't play soccer.
And you've also said that soccer is when you hit and get hit.
Yeah, it's a contact sport. You're going to be touching other people.
But hits aren't condoned by the rules of soccer, are they?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be a push and a shove. Those are both hits. They don't have to be illegal or out of the rules, but that's still contact.
But some hits are not condoned by the rules of soccer.
Yeah, if they're illegal, they're not condoned.
Now, on May 15th, at the beginning of the game, you said that Shannon was playing aggressive.
She was. Everybody was playing aggressive. It was a really big rivalry game, and everybody wanted to win.
And Shannon was playing hard,
All of us were. We all wanted to win.
and Shannon wasn't really holding back.
Nobody was. I mean, it was a big game.
So from what you saw, at this point, Shannon Spain was not injured.
I mean, she was not injured to my knowledge.
But towards the end of the game, Shannon went on a breakaway.
Yeah, Pleasantville had gotten possession of the ball. They passed it to her, and she started going towards our goal.
And that's when you went in to make the slide tackle?
Yeah, I took off, and I got one step ahead of her, and that's when I went in for the ball.
But you didn't get the ball entirely, did you?
I went for the ball. I did make contact with Shannon, but she must have just tripped over me. I went for the ball.
Regardless of the fact, you made contact with Shannon Spain?
Yes, I did, but soccer's a contact sport.
But after this hit, Shannon Spain was on the ground.
She was. I guess she might have tripped or something.
But after this hit, the paramedics arrived.
Yeah, they did.
And after this hit, you were ejected from the game?
Objection, Your Honor. More prejudicial than it is probative.
Your Honor, if I may be heard.
I'm going to overrule the objection here. Please continue, Counselor.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
And after this hit, you were ejected from the soccer game.
I was. It was a bad call, but refs make bad calls all the time.
But nevertheless, you were ejected.
Sadly and unfortunately, I was.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. I have no further questions, Your Honor. I would like to reserve the remainder of my time for a possible recross.
Is your right. Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a redirect for this witness?
No, Your Honor.
Seeing as there is no redirect, there will be no recross. Witness, you are excused with the thanks of the court for your testimony. Is there anything further from the defense?
No, Your Honor, the defense rests.
Seeing as the defense rests, is the plaintiff prepared to deliver its closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
May it please the court. A year can change someone's life. A day can even change it. But a single moment changed Shannon Spain's life forever. On May 15th, 2016, at the climax of a scoreless soccer game with time dwindling away in the second half, Shannon Spain saw her chance to win in a picturesque fashion. And what could have been a night of celebration for some and bitter disappointment for others turned into a nightmare as soon as Lynn Anderson made a choice that would extend far past the game itself and into much of Shannon Spain's future. Because then, Lynn Anderson smashed into Shannon Spain's back with the force of a bull, striking not at the ball, but Miss Spain herself. And the results? Miss Spain lied in excruciating pain on the soccer field while the sirens of the paramedics sounded in the distance. And that is why we, the plaintiff, have charged Lynn Anderson with a tort of negligence and of battery. We prove today that Miss Anderson failed to exercise reasonable and ordinary care, and that she touched another in an angry or hostile manner. And as the plaintiff, we must have proven to you this through a preponderance of evidence, not as the defense may suggest, beyond a reasonable doubt or this high criminal standard, but rather the fact that it was more likely than not that there's a duty of care among the players, that Lynn Anderson broke this duty of care, and this caused for Shannon Spain to sustain injuries. We met that burden today in court. Through witness testimony and evidence, a clear picture of what happened on May 15th was painted. Every single person we heard from today all concluded that soccer is a game of rules. Yet Lynn Anderson even said she understood the rules, but she talked with comfort about how soccer is when you hit and get hit. Hits aren't condoned in soccer. Lynn Anderson has broken rules before, and May 15th was no different, because we learned that the play in question had Shannon Spain in front and Lynn Anderson in behind. And a play of this nature is no soccer play at all, because the person in behind can never reach the ball. They can only reach the person. And the results? Miss Spain was on the ground of the soccer field wondering what her future might hold. And she soon found out when she arrived at the hospital and met with Dr. Blake Norman, who described the trauma, the bruising, the swelling, the loss of motor skills, and damaged vertebrae. But that wasn't just it. Not only was Miss Spain injured, but she lost her chance of ever playing soccer again. She had declining grades after this and a sharp pain in each step that she takes now. These are all grim reminders of what happened on May 15th, 2016. These are all grim reminders of what one person's recklessness and greed can do to another. And that is why we are asking you for the only fair and just thing, to find Lynn Anderson liable. Because what we learned is that a year can change someone's life. A day can even change it. But a single moment, a single soccer game, a single person's actions changed Shannon Spain's life forever. Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to reserve the remainder of my time for a possible rebuttal.
Thank you, Counselor. The time will be reserved. Is the defense prepared to offer its closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor. May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
May it please the court, Your Honor, members of the jury. Imagine a cup filled almost all the way to the brim. Now, imagine you slowly pour water into this cup. The water enters drop by drop, and initially nothing seems to change. However, with each drop, that cup gets closer to spilling out. The water drops until that final droplet enters the cup and the water runs over. Now, the cup didn't spill solely because of the last droplet. Unlike the plaintiff wants you to believe, the cup didn't spill because of solely one moment. It spilled because of an accumulation of water over time. Members of the jury, Shannon Spain's story is this cup of water. After sustaining a life-threatening back injury, she continued to play the violent and intense games of soccer. Every time she stepped onto that field, she put her back at risk and another drop in the cup. Lynn Anderson's routine slide tackle was only the last droplet, not what filled the cup from the beginning. Now, when a player engages in a sport, they assume the risk of any contact normally associated with a play of the game. However, today, Shannon Spain is charging Lynn Anderson with claims of negligence and battery. And in order to find Lynn Anderson liable, the plaintiff must prove these two claims by a preponderance of the evidence. Simply put, you must be reasonably satisfied by the evidence presented today that Lynn Anderson's slide tackle was outside the rules of the game and that it was the sole cause of Shannon Spain's back injury in order to find Lynn liable. Now, you first heard from the plaintiff's three witnesses, an ER doctor, a local soccer coach, and Shannon Spain herself. The burden is on them. However, their case is filled with holes. First, the only eyewitness for the plaintiff was Lynn Anderson's rival soccer coach, who was sitting on the opposite side of the field and who didn't even see the entire play. The only thing Coach Terry Dillon could definitively tell you was that Shannon Spain's back injury was unlike anything she had seen in a soccer match before. Second, the plaintiff's expert witness found prior damage and degeneration to the same area on the back injured that night. And like Coach Terry Dillon, in all her years of experience, Dr. Blake Norman has never seen anything like Shannon's back injury from a soccer match. The only place Dr. Blake Norman has seen an injury like Shannon's was from a car crash, just like the car crash Shannon was in years ago. Third, the plaintiff herself admits to having a serious back injury prior to the soccer game, a back injury that has not been checked in years, and a back injury that would have ultimately ended her soccer career even without Lynn Anderson's slide tackle. Members of the jury, we feel for Shannon Spain. She's experienced far more than I would wish on anyone. Her story is truly a tragedy. However, that tragedy is a direct result of her own negligence following an unfortunate car crash, rather than any action taken by the defendant. Members of the jury, the plaintiff has failed to prove their case. However, we also brought forth three witnesses to further clarify what happened that night. First, Taylor Brown, a local college soccer coach who was in the stands and who explained that in her experience, Lynn Anderson's slide tackle was nothing out of the usual. And second, Cameron Strong, the only expert witness to testify today, the only expert witness who knows anything about the sport, and the only individual in today's case who had the opportunity to watch the play over and over and over again. Unlike the plaintiff's witnesses who maybe saw it once, Cameron Strong had the opportunity to review it for 6 months. And Cameron Strong told you the two simplest and most important facts of today's case. First, that Shannon Spain's size and pre-existing injury put her at serious risk. And second, that Lynn Anderson's slide tackle was legitimate, not excessive, not reckless, not careless, and not outside the rules of the game. Finally, you heard from Shannon Spain. Lynn Anderson, a gifted soccer player who felt genuine sorrow for Shannon Spain. Lynn never wanted to be here today, and she shouldn't be. If Lynn would have slide tackled any other player on the field that night, this trial would not be happening. Think about that. If you replaced Shannon Spain with any one of the other 10 Pleasantville soccer players, you would not be sitting here today. Members of the jury, when you walk into that deliberation room, you will be faced with one question. Was Shannon Spain's injury the direct result of excessive force used by Lynn Anderson, or was Lynn's slide tackle merely the last drop that made the cup run over? Don't blame Lynn for playing by the rules of the game. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Will there be a rebuttal from the plaintiff?
Yes, Your Honor. May I inquire as to how much time I have remaining? May I have freedom of the court?
You may.
The defense just told us that we have this cup about Shannon Spain. The defense is right. We do have a cup. But this cup is of Lynn Anderson's aggression. With each instance, it filled up and up and up. And on May 15th, it poured out. They also told us that we wouldn't be here if we just replaced Shannon Spain with another person. They are 100% wrong. We would still be here because on May 15th, there was a duty of care among the soccer players. Lynn Anderson is the one person that broke this duty of care, and this caused for Miss Spain to sustain injuries. A year can change someone's life. A day can even change it. But Lynn Anderson changed Shannon Spain's life forever. And that is why we hope you, the jury, find Lynn Anderson liable. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Counselor. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're dismissed to deliberate. Bailiff, if you would please escort members of the jury to the deliberation room. Thank you. You may be seated. Let's have a round of applause for our two teams. All right. All right. All right, so we're going to take, while the jury is deliberating, if we could all, please, I understand we're all very excited. I am as well. Let's just all keep it down for a little bit while the jury's deliberating. When they get back, we've got a couple announcements we need to cover. And we're going to take a 15-minute break for now. So go use the restroom. Noah is right there. What's up?
Y'all can go to the bathroom. Noah told us we should probably stay, but actually we'll have to go.
We'll start back with y'all in your seats.
Okay. correct seats next to you.
Correct seat. Okay. Hey, we're gonna clean these tables off. We're gonna get that table and that table, and put it where it is up here in a line straight across.
It's on. Okay. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, give us the wisdom and grace to impart what we have learned this weekend into the outer world, so that the gifts you have given us this weekend will be given to them. Thank you for giving us the strength to work our hardest this year, and bless us as we go on back to our schools, homes, and lives. Amen.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Libba Lamberth, and I've had the honor of serving you this weekend as a judge. Today, I have the privilege of introducing one of my dear friends and your governor, Jared Schaefer. I met Jared last year at Youth Judicial. The first thing I noticed about Jared was he was a literal ray of sunshine. As the weekend progressed, we became really close friends, and this friendship has continued on since then. At this past youth leg, Jared won the election of youth governor, and I had the honor of being selected as his deputy chief of staff for his tenure in his office. Without further ado, please welcome your current governor, Jared Schaefer.
So, did you guys have fun? I'm so impressed with everything y'all did, and I could not be more proud of you guys. I want to thank everybody that runs the Conference of Youth and Government, Mr. Sam, Pierce, Amber. Without them, this weekend couldn't have happened. And so if you're able to, make sure you try and thank them on your way out. And I know it's easy to forget, but also thank your teachers, sponsors, and your coaches. I know you see them do a lot of work, but they also do so much behind the scenes to make an amazing weekend like this happen. So with that, I think it is in order to give a big round of applause to our 2017-2018 Chief Justice, Richie Keith. Richie did such a phenomenal job this weekend, and as I told him last night, I hope that I can run a conference half as well as he has. So as we come to a close, I want to remind you guys that your time in youth and government does not have to end. Coming up this year, from February 22nd to the 24th, we will host our Youth Legislative Conference, which is commonly referred to as Youth Leg, and registration is open right now. If you guys loved getting to meet new people from around the state, I could not encourage you more to sign up for Youth Leg. It's a great chance to debate issues that engulf our society today, and a great chance to learn more things about our legislative process. And the application for Governor's Cabinet will also be up on the website later, so make sure you check that out. So again, thank you guys for an outstanding weekend, because without you guys, this weekend couldn't have happened. I hope you guys had as great of a time as I did, and thank you so much. And I better see you guys at Youth Leg. Thank you guys.
Hello guys, my name is Ava Pastor, and I was one of the judges this weekend. I am pleased to introduce Judge James Anderson. Judge Anderson currently serves the chairman of the Alabama YMCA Youth and Government Board. He has a long history of involvement with the YMCA, participating himself as a teenager and serving as a volunteer and board member of many different YMCA efforts. He was named the Jimmy Hedgehog Award winner in 1971, and he is the recipient of the YMCA Man of the Year Award. Judge Anderson received his undergraduate degree from Hunterdon College, and in 1979, he completed a JD at the Cumberland School of Law at Stanford University and was admitted to practice law in Alabama the same year. Shortly after receiving his law degree, he entered into private practice where he was trusted attorney to many different individuals, groups, and corporations. In November 2016, Judge Anderson was elected to a 6-year term as a circuit judge for the 15th Circuit, which covers Montgomery County. Please help me welcome Judge James Anderson.
Thank you. Good morning. As they said in the introduction, I came up in the YMCA Youth and Government program, and I tell people we did have electricity then, but it was the memories that I made and the friendships that I made, I carry with them now. Some of my best friends and some of the people I deal with, I met when we were coming to Montgomery for youth legislature. This program, Youth Judicial, we can give credit to Judge Maddox, who I saw somewhere here. Judge Maddox, stand up. Justice Hugh Maddox, when he was on the Alabama Supreme Court, this had a soft spot in his heart for this, and this was something that about 40 years ago we started, and look what it's become. It's stand on its own. What a great program. Thank you again, Judge Maddox, for all that. And speaking of that, I'm reminded, Tennyson wrote in his poem Ulysses, that Ulysses said he was a part of all he's met. Well, this weekend and what you've done this year, we are all a part of all we have met and what we've come to know. And I'm just so happy that you got to go here. One thing that we want to have, and we're going to see this, in our system that we have today, when it gets down to it, I'm at the end if you can't work things out. A trial is our last thing that our citizens, when we have a disagreement, whether among each other or with the state, and we leave it up to a trial. This afternoon, I'm going to strike a jury for a robbery case that I'm going to have. It's a real life thing, but they told me, Judge, we're trying to work it out. But if they don't work it out, we'll have 12 people that'll make life decisions for somebody, and that's our system. It's our system, the adversary system, if we have citizens that disagree, if we have people that disagree with the state. So I'm so glad that you had a chance to be here. Now, one thing I'm supposed to do is hand out the gavels to the people on our Supreme Court, and that's why I got my glasses on so I can read them. And then I'll mispronounce your name, and you get your gavel. And so they're Judge Malik. Judge Tannehill. Judge Jelani. I'll mess it up. Judge Mullins. Judge Harrison. Judge Turnipseed. Judge Hudson. Judge G. Gilano. I messed that up. Gagliano. Gagliano. I told you I mispronounced it. Judge Wang. Judge Ellis. Judge Pastor. Judge Foy. And Justice Keith. Keith, congratulations.
Judge Anderson, we have some more over here.
Oh, we got more. Chief, I had you as last. Judge Baker. Judge Livings. Judge Macha. Judge Buchanan. Judge Streeter. Judge Presnall. Judge Lamberth. Judge Hunter. Hunter. Congratulations. He's just wanting his gavel so bad. Believe me, sometimes you don't want to have it. Judge Hamlet. Judge Hentosh. There you go. And Judge Sherman. Congratulations. All right, Chief.
Our bailiffs and deputies this entire conference were the backbone of this competition. This entire weekend we could not have run without them. You might just think the bailiffs are there just to keep time, but it's the bailiff who holds the real power in the courtroom. Judges could not do their jobs without the bailiff. They make sure the courtroom runs, keeps time, and they provide a sense of constant companionship for the judges. The bailiffs this year were absolutely phenomenal, and all of us here want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Bailiffs, you mean a lot to each and every one of us, and we thank you dearly. Now, the deputies. You might have noticed some high school kids sitting in the hallways at all times, either reading a book or taking a nap on the couch. These people were the deputies, and they truly made this conference run. They made sure that everything ran on schedule, they made sure the judges were allowed to start their trials, and they basically held us all together. These deputies not only made sure everything ran smooth, but they provided order and a constant humor for all of the judges. Deputies, thank you for all you did this weekend, and we appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts as well. Now, would the bailiffs and deputies please stand and come to the stage when I say your name? First, we're going to start with the bailiffs. First, we have our third-year bailiff, Hannah Archibald. Next, we have Christopher Bowen. Lacey Brown. Calvin Bird, Yulitza Colmenares, Will Goodlow, Joyce Hahn, Travis Hamilton, Sydney Hewitt, Lisa Hobdy, my bailiff, Elliot Jeffries, Ana Quilianos, Campbell Ladd, Sadie Ladd, Caroline Matry, Selma Marique, Sophie Martino, Bridget McCurrick, the Chief Bailiff, Cameron McDaniel, Roma Name, Franny Seabrook, Sydney Spann, Anastasia Stallworth, and finally, Elizabeth Waldo. Thank you, bailiffs. We love you. And now onto the deputies. First, Lucy Brown. Glory Cantrell. Turner Cole. Gabriela Hernandez. Jackson Howard. Jaden McCall. Kai Rays. Kale Rays. Chaseley Roundtree. Aaron Shanks. And last but certainly not least, Pavel Shirley. Yeah! We love you, Pavel. Thank you, bailiffs and deputies, for all you do.
Hello, everyone. My name is Khadija Malik, and today, and now here to say that it's time for the Premier League Awards. So to start off, before I get into the best attorney and best witness, I would like to say how proud we are of all the Premier League teams. Y'all did great. Please give them a hand, everyone. Everyone did amazing this weekend. But for the best attorney, now I'm going to describe what exactly it takes to get that award. And what the requirements are is someone who remains composed throughout all their trials, who can bounce back from every objection without fail, and seems to know exactly what they're doing. And a best witness pretty much embodies the character that they are representing in the case. And they are people who convince the court that they are that character sitting in that chair being questioned. So without further ado, The most outstanding attorney for Premier League goes to, from Team 232, Mary Kate McCurrick. And now for the most outstanding witness award that goes to, from Team 282, Josh Phillips. Congratulations to both of you. Now we also have the rankings out for both the top 3 plaintiff teams and the top 3 defense teams. So to start off, the third place plaintiff team for the Premier League is Team 533. The second place plaintiff team is Team 534. And the first place plaintiff team is Team 232. First place plaintiff team, please come up and get your award. Now for the top 3 defense teams in the Premier League. The third place defense team is Team 582. The second place defense team is Team 281. And the first place defense team is Team 585. Please come up and receive your award. Congratulations to both teams and have fun at Nationals.
Hello everyone, my name is Vandana Macha and I have the honor of presenting the Outstanding Witness Awards. These individuals have demonstrated an incredible ability to take upon their character in its entirety. They answered questions with ease and were able to maintain a calm and collected composure during crosses. These individuals worked incredibly hard and their hard work showed through their presentation. So without further ado, the most outstanding plaintiff witness goes to, from Team 201, Caroline Kendrick. The most outstanding defense witness from Team 251, Kaylor Hagerla. Congratulations to both of you.
Hi everyone, my name is Marcella Ellis, and I also had the honor of serving as one of your judges during this youth judicial trial, both on Premier and Major League. And today I have the honor of presenting the awards for the most outstanding plaintiff and defense attorneys. I thought I'd just go over a little bit of what makes someone truly outstanding as an attorney. As Khadija hit on earlier, maintaining composure in the courtroom, showing proper decorum, really just embodying the spirit of the Y core values, and always making sure that whatever they were doing was in pursuance of their argument. And these are the people who we believe truly embody these characteristics. The most outstanding plaintiff attorney from Team 201, Madeline Martin. And the most outstanding defense attorney from Team 551, James Torbert. Congratulations to you both. From what I just witnessed, y'all were definitely very outstanding. Thanks, guys.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Trinity Hunter, and I have the esteemed honor of announcing the highest honor at Youth Judicial, the Hugh Maddox Award. Justice Hugh Maddox graduated from a Florida high school before receiving degrees in journalism and law from the University of Alabama. As he continued through his law career, he held multiple different positions, such as law clerk to Judge Aubrey M. Cates Jr. on the Alabama Court of Appeals, as well as the U.S. District Judge Frank M. Johnson. Entering into private practice, he briefly served as a circuit judge and as an assistant district attorney for the 15th Judicial Circuit. Justice Maddox also served as a legal advisor to Governors George C. Wallace, Lurleen B. Wallace, and Albert P. Brewer. And it was Governor Brewer who appointed him as an associate justice on the Alabama Supreme Court, where he presided from 1970 to 2001. In addition to his experience in the courts, Hugh Maddox is the author of the treatise Alabama Rules of Criminal Procedure. He serves on many committees dedicated to the continued improvement of the justice and legal systems alike, as well as many focused on charity and religion. Professionalism, leadership, respect, teamwork, sportsmanship. These are the qualities that embody the Hugh Maddox Award, and these are also the qualities that embody Hugh Maddox himself. Now to talk about the team. On the first day of Judicial, I witnessed many teams, many faces walk through my courtroom. Most were nervous, some were absolutely petrified, but there was one team that really took a break from this trend. As they walked into my courtroom, they had smiles on their faces and laughter in their voices. And this attitude did not just stay with themselves. As the other team walked in, they were clearly incredibly nervous. However, after speaking with their opponents, all of the tension quickly rolled off their back. Power poses. In their before-trial ritual, this team invited their opponents to engage in power poses as a means to gain confidence before the trial. However, their amazing qualities did not stop to before the trial, but continued into it as well. During the trial, whether I overruled an objection or sustained it, composure was never lost. Their ability to maintain line of thought, get from the witness what they wanted, and command knowledge of the FRE was truly phenomenal. To add to this, their teamwork was amazing. Throughout the trial, there was constant communication between the lawyers. Every question, witness, and objection were all carefully crafted to push their side of the case. And naturally, all of this was continued after the trial as well. These qualities and actions make me confident that this team is worthy of winning the Hugh Maddox Award. Without further ado, your 2018 Youth Judicial Hugh Maddox Award winner is Team 201.
Hello everyone, my name is Sarah Buchanan, and today I've been given the honor of introducing your Chief Justice, Richard Keith. I have known Richie for over a year now, and I can say that confidence that he is someone that I am proud to call my friend. This is my second judicial serving with Richie, and it has been such an honor to see him rise and serve as the great leader that he is. He sticks out to me as someone that leads with both composure and compassion, but also a very fun-loving person. When I think of Richie, I think most of all the fun times that we've had together, bonding over our love for Smile gummies and chocolate burritos, or running through the streets of Montgomery to make it to fall planning on time. Richie has always made me smile and feel appreciated. He's someone who lifts people up and sets an example for what a well-rounded and strong leader looks like. His procedure will have very, very large shoes to fill, size 15 to be exact. I truly believe that Richie is going on to do great things. So now, please give it up one last time for your Chief Justice, Richard Keith.
Thank you, Sarah. That was wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sarah, for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. Well, I know we're kind of far into this, but I want to say good morning, everyone. Welcome to our closing ceremony. We are going to finish up awards just a little bit after this, but I wanted to get up here and give you guys some remarks about this weekend, about what I saw this weekend specifically, and some general thoughts about youth and government as a whole. Now, it's crazy that it feels like I first walked into the county courthouse 4 years ago, like yesterday. But, you know, it's been 4 years at this point, and this day seemed to be coming faster and faster for me. But in the end, it's not about the destination and where you end up. It's about the journey, as cliche as that sounds. It's about the people you meet along the way, and it's about the people and how those people impact you, not only at this conference, not only at Youth Legislature in February, not only at officers' trainings for those of us up here and those of us who will be officers at Youth Leg, but also how we act among each other at this conference, at our schools, and in our state. The passions you ignite, the wisdoms that you pursue and achieve, and the experience we all cherish are inevitably changed not only by the way we act, but most importantly by the impact that others have on our lives. An example of an impact that is helpful to me today, I was advised to maybe bring some tissues up here with me, and I have, because I'm going to be real with y'all, I might get a little emotional. I'm going to try not to, though. To begin the real meat of the speech, though, I'd like to start with some thanks. The first person I'd like to thank is, it's hard to put a name to them because there's so many of them, and that's because it's all of you. There's over 640 of you delegates, and without you, this conference couldn't function. Without you, I never would have made it this far, and I think a lot of our judges can say the same because, well, without you guys, we can't really judge anything. So, thank you for all you've done this weekend. You've not only met my expectations for you, but you've exceeded them. To thank some actual individuals, though, I'd like to start by saying what these people mean to me and how I think the lessons that they've taught me over the past couple of years can be relayed to you. These people guided me. They gave me my passions, and they're the ones who I have to thank for just about everything in my life when you add them all together. And I think it just goes to show that anyone from any walk of life nowadays can not only change who you are, but how you end up and how you impact others. I'll start with the first person who ever introduced the law to me in our mock trial competition, my teacher, Mr. Craig Thompson. See, it's already started, guys. Many of you likely already know Mr. Thompson, and if you do, I think you'll probably know why I'm already thanking him. Thompson, you've been there for me when I needed it most in my gig career. I told you it was going to happen. And it's your guidance and advice, the wisdom you've imparted to me over the years that has guided me here today, and it's one of the reasons I could truly say that YMCA has been one of the most formative, I sound like I have an auto-tune on my voice. One of the most formative periods in my life, and I cannot thank you enough for it. The same goes for the other law teachers at Spain Park, Coach Peyton, Dr. Smith. The three of you together have, without a doubt, been some of the most impactful people I've ever met in my life. And the experience we've all shared together, I will never forget for as long as I live. And the next people I'd like to thank are my parents and my sister, my family, for guiding and supporting me all the way here. Your endless love and support has truly given me the courage to go out of my shell, and to pursue my dreams. Even though your only real knowledge of the law likely came from extensive hours in front of the People's Court and Judge Judy. The people I want to thank above all else, though, are my best friends. We call ourselves Team Lose Yourself. And without these 7 people, I can confidently say that I never would have made it this far. These 7 people have provided me with the wisdom to pursue my passion, and they were the ones who drove me to seek a passion in the first place. So to Kaylor, Victoria, Madeline, Abby, Wesley, Whit, and Trey, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for all you've ever done for me, and I really do mean it. I also want to thank our Law Academy as a whole for constantly supporting me as well. Without any of these people, my YIG experience would have never been the same. It was these people that provided me with my passions, with the wisdom to attain those passions, and with the dedication for others that I believe everybody should have. And that's what I want to talk about next. Passions and wisdom. I think that for these past 4 years, I've definitely found my passion at least, and hopefully along the way, just a little bit of wisdom. This weekend, I invited you to join me in that passion for others, the passion to not only have an impact on your life this weekend, but to use that same impact to change someone else's. And as I look out to all of you today, I see your smiling faces, the range of emotions that you choose to express on your face. And I know that not only did you accept my invitation this weekend, you exceeded it. You've exceeded my expectations, and I've never met a conference so full of people ready to learn, ready to help, and most importantly, ready, willing, and able to be kind to every person that they meet. You accepted my invitation this weekend, whether you knew it or not, and fulfilled your duty wonderfully. You also, I believe, hopefully, attained the wisdom to carry out that passion. This weekend, you, of course, improved your knowledge of the law, but more importantly, you improved your knowledge of each other and how to interact with your peers and your leaders. Your knowledge of each other's minds, each other's personalities, each other's hearts, and you used it to better yourselves and especially to better those around you. You seized this weekend with all that you had, from top to bottom, and I could not be more pleased with how this weekend turned out. That's why, even now, at the end of what I could confidently say has been the most important and formative period of my life, I'm able to look out at all of you and smile. I'm able to smile because I know that when I leave after this conference will be in great hands, not only on the leadership side with our judges, our bailiffs, our deputies, and our college staff, but also because I know you delegates will go forth with the same dedication I've seen this weekend to not only better this conference, but to better yourselves, others, your schools, your states, your nation, and eventually the world. And so, to wrap up this kind of lengthy speech, where it sounded like I had an auto-tune on my voice the whole time, I want to say just a few things. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me in my passion. But it's time for me to turn the new page in my book and move on to the next chapter of my life. But I know that as I move on, the dedication, the kindness, the character, and the caliber of person that I've witnessed this weekend will continue to improve every aspect of this conference and every aspect of our world. In short, use your passions now, delegates, judges, and officers. Go forth and change the world. Thank you. Do I need to follow you up the stage? You can go that way. That way? Okay.
At the opening session right here in this room on Saturday, I laid out a few challenges for you. So we want to do a test. Did you get wisdom this weekend? All right. Did anybody eat Tide Pods this weekend? All right. I call that success. So thank you. Thank you for making this a successful weekend, not just in those things, but in so many more. I wanted to take a moment just to say again a thank you to all of the folks that were able to put this conference together. Our judges, let's give them a big round of applause. Our bailiffs who worked so hard to keep the judges in order. Our deputies that worked just as hard and they didn't get to sit down that much. Good job, deputies. We had a lot of people behind the scenes moving around that you might not have ever seen unless they were handing you out food or chasing someone down for a score sheet. But our college staff put in a lot of hours and time, very little sleep, to help make this conference a success. College staff, please stand up. Thank you. Some of them didn't want to stand up, so that's all right. Like we said in the beginning, this program is a conference put on by the YMCA, and I wanted to thank a few folks in that regards. First of all, the CEO of the YMCA of Greater Montgomery, Mr. Gary Cobbs, in the back of the room. Gary. And Jim Franklin, Executive Vice President of the YMCA, my direct supervisor. I always want to thank him. We really appreciate the leadership of the YMCA that put such a priority on young programs for young people like this. Last but certainly not least is my immediate staff that works so hard to put on youth and government conferences and the other 21 conferences and programs that the Britain YMCA runs each year. Amber Voss, Pierce Godwin. I could list all the things that they do behind the scenes, but you wouldn't want to hear it. You wouldn't believe it, and some of them you wouldn't want to hear. So suffice to say that they do every job. There's no job too big or too small. So thank you very much. I'm here to do two things. Number one is to announce the Major League Best Team Awards for the first, second, and third place teams on the defense and plaintiff side, and also to tell you about two national conferences that teams that are recognized here will have the opportunity to participate in. The first is the National Mock Trial Competition, which will be held May the 16th to 18th in Athens, Georgia. This is a national competition with teams from all over the country that come together. One team from each state. There'll be about 44 states represented typically, and it is a really amazing experience that our teams have gotten to participate in the past. The team that represents Alabama at the National Mock Trial Competition in Athens will be the winner of the verdict in today's final trial. The verdict was determined by a panel of 5 local attorneys who were here this morning to watch the trial, and they watched the trial and met kind of as a jury in the back and in a room here, and decided on a winner, and our Chief Justice will announce that winner in a moment. The first place team that does not get the verdict will get to attend the YMCA National Judicial Competition in Chicago the first week of August this next year. And they will attend as one of 4 teams representing Alabama. Like I said, the team that does not get the verdict today, so the other first place team, as well as the first place plaintiff team from the Premier League, which is Team 232. So, the first place defense team, which is 585. And typically, we have another team selected because they won the Humanics Award, but because our Humanics Award team winner is also a first place team this year, we had a wild card. And this was the recipient of this bid to the National Judicial Competition was the team that came the closest to qualifying, but were just a tad off. And that is a Premier League team that came in second in one of their divisions. And this team is very special because not only is it their first time participating as a school here, but earlier this year, their school had to be moved because one of the main buildings burned to the ground. So that wild card bid goes to team 534. Is that right? From Booker T. Washington Magnet High School. So, congratulations. All right, so now the third through first place teams, and I'm going to ask our Chief Justice here to help hand those out, and if Judge Anderson, the chairman of our Youth and Government Board, will also come up and help our Chief Justice hand these awards. When I call your team number, please come forward. We're going to do the plaintiff first. I believe they have the burden of proof, so we'll do them first. So that third place plaintiff team is team 506. Please come forward. Congratulations. The second place plaintiff team, team 301. And our first place plaintiff team, team 201. And for the defense, third place, team 251. Second place on the defense side, 555. And our first place defense team, 551. My last job here today is to hand off some information to our Chief Justice. Lastly, I'd like to say that Richard has done a fantastic job this weekend. He has been a humble leader who has led with the respect of everyone he meets. You can stand up. Has always been polite and kind to everyone that comes into his courtroom or into his field of vision that he can have a conversation with. He's generally a good guy. As I think you all saw today, the emotion which he has for this program, and I hope he knows the emotion that everyone has for him. And I want to say, Richie, it takes a big man to cry. Someone once said it takes an even bigger man to laugh at that man, and no one's laughing at you, not because you're bigger than us, but because of all the respect that we have for you. Thank you for your leadership this weekend. And I have a few things to give to him. One is his plaque from Youth Legislature. Our engraver made his name Keith Richards instead of Richard Keith. So there's the plaque we owe you. There you go. The second is the verdict from the final trial, which you'll read in just a moment. And the last is the winner of the Chief Justice election, which he'll call out, and then here's your oath to swear him in. Great job, sir. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Here we go. Before I announce it, though, I just want to congratulate both teams on an amazing final trial. I think let's all give them another round of applause. It was, without a doubt, the most exquisite trial I've seen all weekend. And I'm sure we all feel the same way, but we do have to pick a winner. And the winner of the YMCA 2018 Youth Judicial Conference, the verdict for the final trial goes to the defense. Now we're going to get to the part that I've been both super excited for and also a little sad about, because this is going to be the last thing I'm going to be doing for you all as y'all's Chief Justice. This year we had 3 candidates run for the office: Grace Foy, David Hentouche, and Sienna Brooks. I spoke to all of them this weekend, and I just want to let you know that they all said the same thing to me, that no matter who wins this election this weekend, they're all thrilled to continue bettering the program, not just for themselves, but for others. And that's exactly what I invited them to do at the start of this conference. So I can say with full confidence that with whoever wins this election, I have no doubt that the conference will only grow and improve from here on out. But you all voted, America voted, and the winner is our 2019 Chief Justice. It's Judge David Hentouche. hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of Chief Justice,
the office of Chief Justice,
that I will be fair and impartial
that I will be fair and impartial
in both my decisions and actions,
in both my decisions and actions,
and I will support the value and spirit
and I will support the value and spirit
of the YMCA Youth in Government program,
of the YMCA Youth in Government program,
so as long as I am a participant therein.
as long as I am a participant therein.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, David. And with that, we've got one more thing to cover. It's our closing prayer. And it's going to be delivered by the wonderful Emily Harrison today. So with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to her and allow her to finish up our YMCA Youth Judicial Conference. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out this evening.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, as this great conference closes, I pray that we honored you in everything we said and did this weekend, and will continue to honor you as we leave. I pray for our former Chief Justice, Richard Keith, as he leaves and continues on his journey, and for our new Chief Justice, David Hantouche, as they take up the gavel. Please watch over everyone and keep them safe as they head home this weekend for this amazing conference. Amen.
And with that, the 2019 YMCA Youth in Government Judicial Conference is adjourned. Thank you so much.